If you're into dark and wild film breakdowns, subscribe and hit the bell right now. I drop new content every single week. Today, we're going deep into every insane, brutal, and jaw-dropping scene from Novocaine, the 2025 action comedy from Paramount that went completely unhinged in the best possible way. Full spoilers from the start. Let's get into it. So, who is Nathan Kane? Nathan Novocaine Kane is a mild-mannered introvert with congenital insensitivity to pain with anhidrosis (SIPA) working as an assistant manager at a trust credit union in San Diego. Now, SIPA sounds like a superpower. It is not. He sets timers at 3-hour intervals to use the bathroom so his bladder doesn't burst. And he sustains himself on an all-liquid diet to avoid unknowingly gnawing his tongue off. Think about that for a second. He cannot eat solid food. Because if he bites too hard, he won't feel it. Nathan says that the average life expectancy in his condition is 25 years. But somehow he manages to kick on. This is the foundation the entire film is built on. Nathan doesn't feel pain, but he can, absolutely, die. Every wound he takes throughout this film is real. Every broken bone, every stab wound, every bullet graze his body, accumulates damage that his brain simply refuses to register. The opening scenes show us a man who has built his entire existence around managing risk. He doesn't eat solid food. He doesn't fight back. He doesn't take chances. He is the most careful man in San Diego. And he is completely, utterly alone. His co-worker, Sherry Margrave, is romantically interested in him, but Nathan is hesitant due to his condition and inexperience with women. Sherry invites Nathan out for lunch, and he finally agrees. At the diner, Nathan explains his situation. No solid food. Ever. Too risky. And Sherry does something nobody in Nathan's life has ever done before. She ignores the risk. And she pushes a slice of cherry pie across the table. Sherry insists that he tries it. And Nathan loves it. Now, it's a 30-second scene. A man eating pie. But it is the most important scene in this entire film. Because it's the first time Nathan chooses joy over safety. The cherry pie becomes the film's central symbol, the risk of living fully versus the certainty of living carefully. Every brutal, insane thing that follows traces directly back to this moment. Nathan ate the pie. He decided to feel something. And that decision costs him everything. And gives him everything back. At a bar with Sherry, Nathan runs into a middle school bully who called him Novocaine because all the kids knew about his condition and would beat him up for fun. Sherry tricks the jerk into taking shots with Nathan. But it was really shots of ghost pepper hot sauce. This scene matters way more than it looks. It's the first time in Nathan's life that someone fought back on his behalf. Someone looked at his history of abuse not as something awkward to move past, but as a wrong worth avenging. Nathan watches Sherry engineer this prank with quiet, absolute delight. He doesn't just like her. He trusts her completely. And that trust is what makes everything that comes next so devastating. The next morning is Christmas Eve. Nathan feels better than ever and is ready to tell Sherry how he feels, but 3 bank robbers, dressed as Santa Claus, enter and fire their guns into the ceiling. Simon murders Nathan's boss Nigel after he refuses to give Simon the code to the vault. Nathan gives Simon the code after he threatens Sherry. Police arrive and a shootout ensues in which the robbers escape, with Sherry as a hostage. The robbers open fire on the cops as soon as they lay down their arms. The murder of Nigel is the exact moment the film's tone snaps in half. Until this point, it was a screwball romantic comedy with a weird medical hook. The second Nigel hits the floor with a bullet in his head, the film makes its real nature clear. This is going to get ugly. And it does. Fast. After placing a tourniquet on a wounded policeman, Nathan steals a police car and follows the robbers. That detail, the tourniquet, tells you everything you need to know about who Nathan Kane actually is. He doesn't just go after the robbers out of love. He stops to help the wounded officer first. He is, at his core, a decent man. And decent men, when pushed far enough, become something the people pushing them deeply regret. Nathan tracks down the robbers through a tattoo on one of their arms, which leads him to a tattoo parlor. And one of the film's most inventive action sequences. The injuries Nate inflicts and obtains range from hilarious to harrowing. Skin-blistering, bone-breaking traumas are utilized not only for humor and action but for story structure as well. In the parlor, Nathan gets stabbed, cut, punched, thrown into equipment. And he keeps going because he literally cannot process any of it as a reason to stop. The tattoo artist watches in horror as this unassuming bank employee absorbs punishment that would put most men unconscious, as calmly asks for the information he needs and walks out, covered in wounds he doesn't even notice until he looks down. After a brutal fight with the artist, he gets Ben's address. The scene is darkly, brilliantly funny. Jack Quaid plays every beat of confusion and panic with perfect comic timing. The horror doesn't come from Nathan's pain. It comes from the absence of it. He is a man with no internal signal telling him when to stop. And that is both his greatest weapon and the most terrifying thing about him. Nathan goes to Ben's house to find more clues. As he walks in, he's met by multiple traps, tripwire arrows, a falling mace. His reactions to each of them are hilarious. Because he can't feel any of them. An arrow goes through his shoulder. He looks at it with mild inconvenience. A mace swings into his ribs. He stumbles, checks himself, keeps walking. The film plays each trap for pure absurdist comedy. Nathan's body is a catastrophe of wounds he hasn't registered, and he treats each new injury with the resigned annoyance of someone who keeps stepping in puddles. He's not resistant to a rope trap that pulls him into the air and keeps him captive. He calls his friend Roscoe to come help him. Then, Ben's brother Andre shows up. What follows is one of the film's most disturbing sequences. Andre tortures Nathan in ways that would break any normal person. Nathan feigns feeling pain just to buy time. He is performing agony he cannot feel. Calculating how to survive. It is simultaneously horrifying and deeply strange. Roscoe arrives, and together they overpower and kill Andre. This is the scene that recontextualizes everything you've watched so far. Sherry was involved from the start, working with her brother Simon, the mastermind behind the heist. Her goal was to lure Nathan into helping access the bank vault. Despite participating, she privately disapproved of her brother's violence and had only agreed to the robbery on the condition that no one was hurt. She got a job at the bank, specifically to get close to one of the bank managers. And it suggested this isn't the first time they'd done something like this, hinting that she's a career criminal. Nathan learns all of this standing in the auto shop, looking at the woman he risked his life for. Covered in wounds. Barely standing. while she confirms that she was lying to him from the very beginning. The date. The cherry pie. The bully revenge. All of it engineered to extract a vault code. Except she hates violence. She berates Simon for killing people. And when Nathan shows up and Simon tells him the truth, Sherry confesses that she did end up falling for him. For real. Jack Quaid's face in this scene is the entire film in one expression. He cannot feel the physical pain of every wound he's carrying. But he can feel this. And this is the only thing that actually breaks him. Simon pins Nathan down and has a car pressing its tire down on Nathan's face. A car tire. On his face. Slowly pressing down. Nathan does not scream. He cannot scream. His face is being crushed by thousands of kilograms of vehicle weight and his nervous system reports nothing. His eyes stay open. He watches Simon watching him. And the audience, watching alongside, feels every gram of pressure that Nathan cannot. Simon tries to kill Nathan against Sherry's protests, but he is shot by an arriving detective. Simon then shoots the detective dead, wounds another, and escapes in the ambulance holding Nathan. The ambulance hijack is the bridge to the film's climax. And it sets up the single most grotesque, inventive kill in the entire movie. Nathan is handcuffed in the back of a speeding ambulance with a murderous Simon. And he does what any reasonable man would do. Nathan slips out of the handcuff by dislocating his thumb and uses a defibrillator on Simon, causing him to crash the ambulance. Dislocating his own thumb. With no anesthesia. With no reaction whatsoever. Just a quiet pop and a hand sliding free. The defibrillator to Simon's skull is one of the film's great action beats. Nathan improvising a weapon from medical equipment in a moving vehicle, using the only advantage he actually has, the complete absence of hesitation that pain usually creates. A car chase to the docks ensues. The two continue to fight. And Simon breaks Nathan's arm. Simon snaps the arm. The bone protrudes through the skin. Nathan looks at it. Looks at Simon. And something in his eyes shifts. This is the scene. The one the entire film has been building toward since the very first frame. As Simon is about to kill Sherry, Nathan injects himself with adrenaline and brutally finishes Simon by impaling his exposed, fractured arm bone up through Simon's jaw and into his brain, killing him almost instantaneously. He uses the bone protruding from his own arm to impale and kill Simon. Then he passes out exhausted from the mental and physical trauma. Which brings his entire story full circle. A human being uses their own broken bone protruding through torn skin as a weapon. And drives it upward through a man's jaw. Into his brain. The film doesn't cut away. It lingers just long enough to make you fully understand what you just watched. Not an action movie punch. Not a CGI explosion. A man with a shattered arm. Deciding that his pain, the only pain he cannot feel, belongs to someone else. As blood spatters and bodies bend, crack, and twist, Novocaine keeps you laughing, grimacing, and flinching. Even as Nate does none of the above. Nathan awakes in a hospital 2 weeks later in a medically induced coma with a full body cast. He learns from Detective Mincy that he's been given 6 months of house arrest and 5 years of probation because he saved the life of a police officer during the shootout. 1 year later, Nathan visits Sherry in prison. 8 months left on her sentence. He visits her to celebrate their first anniversary, and he shows her the finished tattoo they started together. It depicts them defending a tower, side by side. The tattoo was unfinished at the start of the film. A knight defending a tower, alone. Now, it shows two people fighting side by side. It is the film's entire thesis. In permanent ink, you cannot survive this world alone. And love is not the absence of betrayal, it's what you choose to do after it. As the prison guards lead Sherry back to her cell, Nathan chews a piece of cherry pie and smiles. The cherry pie. The same one from the diner. The same risk. The same choice. The same answer. Joy is worth the damage. A man who cannot feel physical pain finally learns what it means to feel everything else. If this breakdown hit, drop a like, it genuinely helps the channel grow. Comment below, was Sherry a villain, a victim, or something in between? Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. See you there.